Hi, I'm Pete Draper. I'm the Visual Effects Pipeline Technical Director for Magadira. My initial role was between February and April 2009, specifically concentrating on the stadium and city CGI sequences. My main role, as I said, was to make sure that no information was being lost between the original film scan and also the final composite. That involved a couple of pipelines which I had to introduce. Firstly, to deal with color correction and also to make sure that the renders were being output in a specific bit depth, so they could be added into the live action. After the live action was converted to a higher bit depth, the renders could then be composited in and then all be played out back to film. My next role was to make sure that the pipeline for the match move was done correctly. That was involving Adil Adli over in Iran and EFX, who were based in Chennai. The reason being is because the stadium, the physical set, didn't exactly match up to the CGI. So because we obviously couldn't move the live action stadium around to suit the match move, we obviously needed to tweak the CGI slightly to match the live action set. So what we needed to do is create a process to make sure that EFX could shift the CGI model on a shot-by-shot basis, just to make sure that any gaps could be filled. After a little bit of deliberation, it was a case of we could actually pass a low-res piece of geometry across to EFX, while Adil and ourselves were actually containing the high-res geometry. So EFX simply just tweaked the low-res scene, drop the camera in, and then passes across the match move, which would then just simply open up, and the high-res information would just pipe straight across, straight into the scene. We could just then include the lighting rig, which was the next process that I designed. Thankfully, the director gave us a lot of lighting references on set, so therefore, coupled with the set references, the set notes which EFX had taken down on the day, we could then sort out the exact lighting depending on what time of day the scene had been shot. My next role involved creating some choreographed birds so that the director could populate a shot and fill a backplate if necessary. So I designed the system so that you can actually have the birds flying through shot and around buildings and interacting with each other and flying around these buildings to making sure that they didn't intersect with them. So once that was introduced and the success of that, he then asked to see whether or not we could actually choreograph them. For example, we could actually have them sitting, feeding, or just idling around on the surfaces, and then they get disturbed and then could fly off either to an adjacent surface or fly off into the sky and not be seen again. Because of the success of this particular sequence, or this particular system, the director then invited me back to India after April to work on another couple of sequences, another couple of setups. One was to include an army within around about 7 shots. On some shots we were dealing with around about 1,000 characters, and on another shot, in some of the static ones, we're actually dealing with around about 12,000 soldiers, both on horseback, idling, camels, standing with flags, and so on and so on. So we needed different iterations of these characters. Thankfully Adil had produced quite a wide library of such characters, so we could actually call on those, and couple with a particle system which I designed, we can actually choreograph these guys to flock over hills and over terrain and sculpt them to the contours of the terrain. After that particular sequence, what I was then involved with was to create cloth simulations for a couple of shots. So I think again there's around about 6 or 7 shots. Again, quite simply because they didn't manage to get the cape to behave on set, I was asked to replicate the cloth motion and get it to behave in not necessarily an unnatural fashion, but some way that the cloth wouldn't naturally behave. For example, in a couple of shots where the character is pirouetting through the sky, cloth would naturally wrap to his body. However, this isn't what the director wanted, so therefore what I needed to do was to design a system so that I could manually and procedurally control the motion of the cloth, so it would stay away from his body but still remain in a spiral shape around his body as he was flying through the air. This is during the Dera 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 song. Again, for that particular sequence, we also needed to include a process which was actually discussed on the first day I was actually over there on set, which was to get the hero from down on the ground where we're surrounded by all these troops up to the top of the lion statue. So the director came up with a couple of processes. One which was originally designed, which was a massive column or rock column erupted from the ground and blasted him up into the air. That was then changed to a tornado sequence, or inverted tornado. So in essence, he throws this lightning bolt down to the ground, and a massive tornado whisks him up into the air. One other thing I also worked on was the waterfall sequence, which was designing a pseudo fluid simulation so that the rider, i.e. the hero, could actually interact with. So he would burst through the water. Now this was the reason behind this was because the original plates were shot with the water actually on quite a low level. This is obviously so that the horse the hero was riding didn't obviously get alarmed and wouldn't perform on set. So therefore the water was actually dialed down to quite a low amount. And then they obviously shot clean plates, which could obviously be composited in afterwards. However, once those had been dropped in, the water didn't look meaty enough, it didn't look as intense, so therefore the director asked me then to increase the amount of water within that particular shot, or this particular shot. So again, there was about 5 or 6 shots. So what I then introduced was another couple of systems, one to design the actual motion of the white water as it was falling down from above camera, and another couple of systems so that when the rider bursts through, the impact is more explosive. Another couple of sequences which I was involved with were to do with the city, specifically lighting and designing crowd sequences, specifically to do with some of the watchtower staff and the city at night and also at sunrise. There was also a crowd sequence with regards to the end of the chase sequence, where the hero and the villain are re-entering the city. So what I had to do was drop in these CG characters which were produced by Adel, and get the general populace to flock to the entrance of this gate, and also have characters on top of the gate looking over the top of one side and then running across to the other side and looking over the other side. They're very, very small within shot, but they are there. The director was very, very particular about them, and it does make the shot. I've heard that it's gone down very, very well. So it's a testament to Rajmouli's vision and the entire team who's worked on it. I mean, like I say, I was only there for a short amount of time, but hopefully the works not just by myself, but everyone involved in the city and the stadium sequences, Adel, EFX, Kamal Khannan, the director's vision, everyone who was actually involved in those particular sequences can stand testament to the work that's been produced.